Hello, AK here, and today's focus will be on adding lighting fixtures into the venue. We're going to add a good mix of conventional devices and some unconventional devices. We'll also add in some accessories and learn how to work with them. And then we'll figure out how to play around with the distribution and alignment tools within Vectorworks. Once we have the lights on the drawing, we'll add some label legends to view the data that you can associate with them, and it's quite a bit to get done, so let's just get started. Okay, let's first sort out our layers and classes. I'm gonna make sure that the production overhead, production deck, and seating layers are turned on, and I want to make sure that we are in the production overhead layer. Then we'll head over to the classes, and I want to make sure that the perimeter drapes are turned on. We also want to make sure that the staging and staging deck layers are also turned on. We don't need the ladders for now, so we'll just leave that as a pass. We'll start today with the lighting devices tool. And it can be found in the lighting tool palette. It's the first one in the list. Once you select the tool, you realize that it's asking you to pick a symbol, and it's also giving you the option to assign a fixture mode. These options over here are the automatic numbering system. I don't really use them very much, but it can save you some time if you're working with a very generic rig. So I'm going to pick the Arten Ghibli lighting fixture. You can look in your resource manager here for Arten, and I'm gonna search for Ghibli. So we have one over here. I'm gonna pick this guy, and you can then assign a fixture mode. For the Arten Ghibli, they have a basic, standard, or extended. We're going with the basic for this one. And you can see that the crosshairs now has an outline of the fixture that I just picked. Then I'm going to go over to truss E over here, and I'm going to drop in 9 fixtures on the downstage chord of the truss. So somewhere around here, you can see immediately that the red line appears to tell you that a rigging object is getting connected. The insertion mode is the same as any other thing within Vectorworks. Click once to place, and the second click gives you your rotation. So I'm gonna go ahead and just drop in a total of 9 fixtures over here. I'm not gonna pay too much attention to where exactly the fixtures are gonna be. I just want to make sure that I have one in the middle, and I have one at the other end. And just drop them in. And I need one more. Okay, and you can see that I have 9 fixtures, probably not laid out in the best or neatest of ways. So this is where we get to use some of the integrated alignment and distribution tools within Vectorworks. Okay, so before we start using the distribution and alignment tools, we want to make sure that the first and last fixture on the truss are an equidistant apart. So that's not very difficult. You just need to take the tape measure tool and measure 6140 and 6267. Obviously not the same distance apart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this fixture and I'm going to move it in by 140 millimeters, and I'm going to take the measuring tool again, 267. I'm going to move this fixture in by 267 millimeters. Okay, If I were to measure them from midpoint to midpoint, I should get an exact 12 meters. Next, I want to make sure that this fixture is on the chord, the downstage chord of the truss. So you can hold B on your keyboard to be able to see through any objects, and you can hold shift to make sure that it snaps to 90 degrees. So I'm just going to make sure it snaps over here, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. Hold B to see through, and hold shift to snap it to 90 degrees. So with that out of the way, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on one Arten Ghibli, right click and select lighting devices by instrument type. With all 9 fixtures selected, I'm going to right click, align distribute, and align insertion point horizontally. And you can see what it does is it places all Ghiblis on the bottom chord because it's taking reference from the first unit that you clicked. And then I'm also going to right click and align distribute and distribute horizontally spacing. So this will make sure that my 9 Ghiblis are spaced out evenly between the first and last Ghibli in the series. With that sorted, that clears one truss of lighting fixtures for me. I'm gonna do the same thing for truss D and the downstage side of truss C, but instead of placing lights and copying them over like we did with truss E, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to select the fixtures and I'm gonna use the move by points tool, which is over here. I'm gonna pick them up from let's say this point on the truss and just shift it upward. Hold shift and click, and that should give me an exact duplicate of truss E over on truss D. And I'll do it one more time, starting from here over to this side of truss C. So what I'm doing is I'm actually holding the shift key to make sure that the cursor locks at 90 degrees. And there we go. We have 27 Ghiblis very quickly inserted into the truss. At this point, I kind of missed a step. The usual process would be to make sure you select all your lighting devices and make sure that they are placed in the correct class. So for me, that's going to be a new class. I'm going to place it under production lighting overhead. So new class, production, LX overhead, and hit OK. So this allows me to turn the layer off with a little less fuss. With my front of house section done, I'm heading over to my on stage section, and I'm gonna insert a few more Ghiblis. Maybe just a few scattered around. And once I have that out of the way, I'm just gonna click on the first set of Ghiblis that I added and use the mirror tool to mirror them over to the other side. Okay, and I feel the middle is a little empty, so I'm just gonna add in a couple more in the middle. Maybe somewhere around here. Okay, the idea again is the same. I can pick them up, and if I feel not very satisfied with their placement, align the fixtures neatly. And once that's done, I can also distribute them evenly. Okay, and then we're just going to add in a couple of wash fixtures. So for this, I'm going to use a Martin Mac Aura, and it's the Mac Aura XB. We're going to add in a total of 32 Mac Auras. Somewhere around here. Okay, just put this guy down here, and then with one set of auras, just gonna pick them up and mirror them over to the other side. And a couple of crosses. Maybe one more over here. And mirror them again. Okay, so you can see how we can very quickly insert in a bunch of lights into our rig. Oh, I'm realizing that the downstage area here is a little bit empty. Never mind. In this drawing situation, the lights are free, so we can just very quickly select a bunch of them and just do a move by points. Over from here to here, and there we go. That's a good number of lights. So to demonstrate the next bit, I am going to need a couple of conventional lights on the rig. I'm gonna go with a few Source 436s, so we can look under ETC Source 4 and look for 36 degrees. A good cheat code is if you see that the rear of the fixture is black, that is a 750 watt fixture. If you see that it's white, it's usually a 575. So I'm going to go with this fixture, and I'm going to place it over here. Just two, and then I'm going to mirror them over. And then I am going to add in a Fresnel. So for the Fresnel, I'm going to go with the Silicon Rama, and I'm going to go with the 6-inch Fresnel. Just going to add in one over here, another one over here, and one more over here. And as with all things, because symmetry is so important, I'm just going to mirror it over. So now we have a very good mix of fixtures in our lighting rig. A footnote before we move on to lighting accessories is that using the insert symbol tool over here to insert in a symbol of a lighting fixture is not the same as inserting in a lighting fixture with the lighting device tool. So if I were to insert in, say, a Ghibli using the symbol insertion, you can see that in my object info palette, this is a 2D, 3D symbol, nothing more. If you look at the devices inserted by the lighting device tool, it is classified as a lighting device, and there is a whole list of additional data over here. So the moral of the story here would be to use the correct tool for the correct object. So before I go over into my accessories, I want to make sure that all my lighting devices are in the correct layer. So I'm going to pick them all up. And just make sure that they are all under the production LX overhead class. And now we can move on to accessories. So accessories are very interesting if you are a bit of a nerd like me. It's the same process as adding in a lighting device, and you can either add or remove an accessory. So what I'm going to do over here is I am going to pick a 4-panel bundle. Okay, you just gotta make sure that you're in the correct layer or correct folder within the resource manager. Hit select, and then all you have to do is click on the fixture which requires the accessory, and the accessory gets added on for you. The idea is the same with the profiles. If I want to add in a iris, I just select the iris and I place it in the profile. Once the accessory is added, in the object info palette under edit accessory, you have the option to edit the accessory on top of the fixture itself. With the accessories out of the way, we can move on to the biggest chunk of today's video, which is the label legend manager. In Vectorworks, we can add data to the fixtures, and the data needs to have a suitable way to be presented. And the label legend is how we do this. And because there's so many different fixtures and so many different shapes and sizes, there are many different labels that you need to manage. So the label legend manager is one place where you can see all your labels and tweak and adjust them as you see fit. It's very similar to the attribute tags if you come from the AutoCAD world. Usually having one label legend for each fixture type is a good idea. For me, I like to have one for the moving spots, one for the moving washers, and one for the conventionals. For today, we're going to do one for the Ghibli, one for the Aura, and one for the conventionals. So head over to your spotlight menu and look for lighting, and under lighting you will see label legend manager. In this window, you will see every label legend that you have created on your program. Right now it's empty because we have nothing in here at the moment. I'm going to click on add, and I'm going to create my first label legend. So this is going to be M spot, basically for my moving spots. Under the symbol, I want to change my symbol to an Arten Ghibli because that is the prototype from which I'm working. And over here, I can see all the different attributes that my label legend can have. So for a moving spot, I want to make sure that I have the channel number, and I want to make sure that this is visible in 2D. I want to make sure that this attribute is inside a circle, and then I want to make sure that the circuit number is inside a hexagon. And then I also want to make sure that I have my universe and address, and that this is in a rectangle. With that done, I'm going to press OK. Activate the label legend and edit its 2D layout. Here you can see where your tags are appearing. So I'm going to select the channel within the circle, and I'm going to place it over here. Same thing with the circuit number, and same thing with the universe and address. It's a little bit squeezy, so what I tend to do is I like to slightly space it out. And then you just hit exit symbol and you are done. Nothing happens first, and this is kind of where we run into the first problem with the default containers. You gotta click on a Ghibli, right click and select lighting devices by instrument type, and once they're all selected, scroll down and look for use legend and switch this over to M-Spot. And after a moment, the label legend that you just created will appear on your lighting fixtures. This is my first problem. They look really tiny on a very big plan, and there is a way to fix it, and that's what we're going to get into right now. So how we fix the problem of the tiny containers, I actually saw this on YouTube when someone else did a tutorial. I really liked it and kind of incorporated it into my own workflow. So you need to go over to your resource manager and look for your items within your file. So my file is called 901 Vectorworks Training, and here you have a containers folder. So with the containers folder selected, I'm going to see the 4 different containers that are available to me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select each one, right click and duplicate, and I'm going to call this a big circle. Then I'm just going to repeat this process for each of the 3 containers that I intend to use. So once I have one each of a duplicate of my common containers, I'm going to click on the circle and I'm going to add it to the components. And in here you can see the default container. It's 152 by 152, and it's currently at the 00 point of the drawing space. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the width section over here at the object info palette, do an asterisk to signify a multiply, and multiply this by 1.25. And I'm going to do the same thing with the height. So now I'm going to see that my circle is 1.25 times bigger than the original, but the middle of this circle is no longer 0, 0. So I want to fix this. I'm just going to drag this to the side and enter in 19, and then I'm going to drag this upward and enter in 19. Okay, why this is important is because Vectorworks uses the 0 point of this shape to place the container. So if it's off, all your symbols are going to be off. So once I'm done, I'm going to exit symbol, and then I'm going to do the same thing for the hexagon. Add it to the components. I'm going to zoom into the hexagon and just multiply this by 1.25. And then I'm going to see that it is 22 pixels to the right, so I'm moving it back by 22, and it is 19 pixels too far below. I'm going to move it up by 19. I keep saying pixels, but I mean millimeters. You know that, right? Okay, I hope you do. Okay, and I'm going to exit symbol, and just one more over to big rectangle and add it to the components. Okay, this one's a little bit different because I like my DMX address and DMX universe to be completely within the rectangle. So instead of using their dimensions, I'm going to go with my own custom dimensions. So that's a 300 by 150 millimeters. And then I'm gonna exit symbol. Almost forgot. Go back in and recenter the shape. So it's 48 millimeters to one side and 24 millimeters upward. And hit exit symbol. Okay, now all I need to do is go over to my Label Legend Manager and edit fields. And now you'll see that for channel, I have a big circle option. For universe, I have a big rectangle, and for circuit number, I have a big hexagon. And hit OK. Make sure it's selected and edit 2D layout. And you can see everything's all scrunched up in here. So same idea, I'm just going to space them out. Just so that everything is a little better seen. You can of course also use the align tool, align distribute, align insertion point vertically, and it places them all along the same line. So once I'm done, I'm going to exit symbol, and you can see that whatever it is now looks a lot better and more pleasing to the eye than the original tinier containers. So to finish this off, I'm going to go back into my Label Legend Manager, and I'm going to duplicate this label legend. I'm going to call this mwash. I think it's a small w. And I'm going to change the instrument type to a Martin Mac Aura. And hit OK. So with this guy selected, I'm going to edit the 2D layout. It will open up with the same title, so this is okay. You can just change it to the wash. And then I am just going to delete this Ghibli over here, and you will see that the aura is hiding behind. The data tags are the same, so I'm just going to realign them so we don't waste space. And then I'm going to exit symbol. And I'm going to select all the auras. And same thing under use legend, I'm going to use mwash. And once it has its moment to refresh, you'll see that all the tags appear on my washes. So just one more for the conventional. This one's a little bit different. So first I'm going to duplicate the label, and I'm going to call this the conventional, and I'm going to use the Fresnel that was used earlier. So it was a silicon Rama 6-inch Fresnel, and this time the attributes change because on a conventional fixture I don't want to see the universe and address, so I no longer need the big rectangle. I do want the circuit number, but I also want the color and I want the purpose. So with this done, I'm going to hit OK, and with the conventional selected, I will edit 2D layout. Same thing over here. This is going to be called conventional, and I no longer need the universe address, and I no longer need the aura. But you can see the other attributes that I asked for are not yet here. Sometimes the Label Legend Manager does this, so you just need to exit the symbol, open up the Label Legend Manager again, and make sure you double click on the label that you want to edit. Check to make sure that you indicated the purpose and the color on them correctly, and then hit OK and edit 2D layout. You can see that I have my purpose and color over here. So I'm just gonna move them back a little bit. I think that's about right. And I'm gonna add in the color in front and the purpose in front of the color. I'm just leaving a little bit of room for the barn door. And hit exit symbol. So I'm gonna head over to my Fresnel, right click, select lighting devices by instrument type, and use legend, conventional. Same thing with the profiles, right click, select instrument by type, and switch over to conventional. So that puts me in a place where all my fixtures are now ready for data, and we can now move on to generating the data to insert into the legends. The spotlight numbering tool was first used when we labeled the hoist in the drawing, and we can now reuse it to apply the channel, DMX and universe data to the lights. We just need to make sure we pick the correct settings. So under spotlight, you head over to spotlight numbering and make sure that you are in lighting device, and make sure that you have checked over here channel, circuit number, DMX address, and universe. Under channel, I'm going to set a prefix of F, and I'm going to set it to start at 1. Every click will increment the numbering by 1, and that's about it for channel. For circuit number, I'm going to set a prefix of ND, meaning non-dim, and I'm going to apply the same numbering to all units. I do this because it is a good way of letting my students know not to hook up a moving light into a dimmer circuit. We then head over to the DMX address, and we start from 1, and we set it to automatically increment the numbering by the DMX footprint and offset by 0. Lastly, I'm going to start from a universe of 1 and automatically increment by offset, which is 1, when the universe is full. Then I hit OK, and I go over to the prom site, the first fixture on stage left or house right. Why prom site is because it's a reference that we take for a lot of theatrical things. So being trained in that way, I tend to follow the same process. So this is where I'm going to start. Click once and then just follow the process and click through your fixtures. So once I'm done with one overhead truss, I'm going to head over to the next truss and continue clicking. And just do a double click to stop. This gives me a total of 43 fixtures for the Ghiblis. Extremely overkill, but it does serve to illustrate the fact that the process is really easy with the spotlight numbering tool. So now I'm going to move on to the auras, and before I start, I just want to click on all instruments by type and make sure that they are in the standard mode. This means that they each take 14 DMX channels, so that way the numbers don't run when I try to do the auto addressing. So same idea, back to spotlight numbering. I'm going to start from fixture 101, and the circuit number is going to be ND with the same number applied to all units. DMX address will start from 1 again, and the universe this time is going to start from 11. And I'm going to hit OK, and starting with this aura over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. And same thing, once you are done, just double click to end the series. So this leaves me with just the conventionals. Same process. This time I'm going to start from 201. I'm not going to assign a fixture prefix. I'm going to leave the circuit number empty, and I'm not providing a DMX address, and I'm not providing a DMX universe. Instead, I am going to add in a color. So my color over here is going to be 202 Lee. And for purpose, let's say we're going to call this side fill. And hit OK. So starting from here and going down the line, double click to end. One more series for the profiles. This time I'm going to start from 207. Color will be 201, 202. I want to apply the same numbering to all units. Purpose is going to be specials. And hit OK. Go down the line and just finish this up. Double click to end, and just quickly go back and fix my color for the Fresnels. I want these to be Lee 202. So zooming out on my plan over here, you can see there's a lot going on. All my fixtures have data tied to them, and as it is with Vectorworks, doing this in 2D form also populates the fixtures in 3D. It's a really well integrated process to work with. So moving forward from here, there's more that we can do. We can add lights to the ground, we can add lights on the ladders, but all that will come soon. So that's a very good intro into all things lighting related for Vectorworks Spotlight. It's not all, there's a lot more that we can do, and in the next one we'll add fixtures to the lighting ladders, add some fixtures to the deck, and we'll also look at creating schematic views to present your fixtures that are in a vertical manner better when they are on a plan view. We can also look at the draw beam function to help with focusing and planning of placement of conventional lights. But all that is lots of math and lots of calculation. We can do that in the next one. Okay, so see you then. Bye.